It sure is. Perfect.
T-Bone thinks it's perfect, too.
Huh?
And chase cows.
We're gonna ask Jed to go out into the field and go
Insulating shades, boardrooms to bedrooms, skylights to window walls, Gordon's offers help in design and specification. Funding has also been provided by members like you.
It is amazing how different everything looks from the water side.
Big difference.
Isn't that Castle Island there?
That is Castle Island, and that's Fort Independence right there.
You know, there's been a fort on that island since 1634, and during the Revolutionary War, it was very important because it's where the British set up their headquarters. They trained their guns on Boston to try to keep the Patriots in line.
That's right.
Wow, look at that skyline. You know, I remember when I first moved here 20 years ago, the whole waterfront area was a slum. There were a bunch of abandoned buildings and so on. The harbor itself was a cesspool. And now, with all these new hotels and the New England Aquarium, Central Artery being depressed, it is a real jewel. And the harbor itself is clean. I mean, if you like salt water, you could drink it.
Well, I don't know about that, Steve.
Now, do people live down here right on the waterfront year-round?
Condominium living is very expensive down on the water, but a lot of people live on their boats here. I have people that live in my marina and also along here in Boston all year. It's a great alternative.
And we're getting close. There's Charlestown, USS Constitution, Bunker Hill Monument. Pretty soon we're going to have to go to work. Well, I guess we better go to work, huh?
Boy, that was great. What a way to start the day.
Yeah, and I suppose I might as well change to go to work.
Funding for this old house is provided by
Of all the things you can get at Ace, perhaps the best is peace of mind. Ace is a place for the helpful hardware folks.
State Farm Insurance. Keeping our promise of protection to generation after generation. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Fast-drying Krylon spray paint. Because the perfect finish is a reflection of you. Indoors or out. Krylon knows that all your work is worthwhile.
And by
Saturn is proud to provide support, and sometimes doorknobs, for this old house.
Well, back at the site, lots of things have been happening, including a visit from the building inspector, right, Dan?
Yeah, we actually had a visit this past week.
As a result of a complaint.
Yes, there have been numerous complaints in the area, and I was the subject of one of them.
And what was the issue?
They had three issues. One was the building permits being visible from the street.
Yeah.
They're in the second floor window, which you can see them from across the street. Same place they've been from the start of the project.
So that's legal?
Yes, that's absolutely legal.
All right.
And the second issue is the scaffolding here that you see erected. We had some extra pieces lying on the inside and against the wall, and they felt that was a hazard as well. They required us to move them from here into the backyard, away from where anyone can get to them.
All right. And how about the third item?
Third issue, Steve, is actually back here where they're doing some removal in the backyard. We need to have this area fenced off at all times.
What, with some snow fence or something? Some of that orange fencing?
Something so that passerbyers can't stumble onto the work site.
Well, these seem fairly minor. Do you feel that you were singled out?
No, there have been numerous complaints, and I think what it is, it's a concerned citizen that is looking out for their well-being and the well-being of the neighborhood. So I don't think it's the last one, but
really,
we're trying to do what we can to, keep everyone happy here.
All part of working in the city.
Yes.
Glad you're handling it, not me. So, Roger, it's the day to pull out this granite curbing, huh?
Well, as usual, when I get here, the destruction starts, Steve.
Well, these are some mighty big pieces of granite.
Oh, they're absolutely huge. You got to remember that these were probably quarried 100 to 150 years ago by hand.
Wow.
So these back sides are real rough. The only time they spent on the granite itself is a top in the face.
You can see the drill marks from the quarry here where they split it off. This one is very rough on the side.
You see the size of that?
Yeah.
Huge.
Then you got one more that's going to come out, huh?
That's what we're bringing out now.
Now, what are you going to do with this stuff?
We're going to lift them up on the truck and take them back to my shop and store them until the project's done.
Why go through all that trouble?
Well, Steve, we have absolutely no storage space here. We want to lower this sand. Dan wants me to lower the grade in this area, and we want to take the stairs out. So we got to take everything out and bring it back when we're ready.
All right. So, Dan, what are your plans for this area?
Our plans are to drop this area about 3 feet, take it down to 3 feet so that we can put a patio, outdoor patio, brick or something of that sort.
So all this material has to get excavated.
Right.
And Roger, you think you're going to have any trouble breaking this thing apart? It's pretty solid.
I talked to Dan. He says the next door neighbor told us said it came in as a precast unit, so we're just going to take sledgehammer and bar to it and get this out of here also, Steve.
Now, you're on pretty hallowed ground here. After all, battles of the Revolutionary War were fought not too far from here.
Right.
What do you think you're going to find? Bullets?
Well, it could be anything, but look at this, Steve. We found P.J. Neary. Now, I don't know exactly where that came from, whether someone misspelled the name and it was used and recycled. But, Dan, I really don't feel like digging too deep here.
Not 8 feet.
You think PJ's down below?
We'll find out, won't we?
Ooh,
Yeah.
That's creepy. Wasn't much of that, huh, Roger?
No. Piece of cake.
Last time we saw Matt Foti, he was chopping down trees in Billerica. Now we've enlisted him to help us get rid of this granite. Look at how he handles that machine. You've got wires everywhere, you've got parked cars on the street. He's got the steel nerves of a brain surgeon. All right, Matt, you're all set. Well, we love Matt and his truck, but this is one day we're glad to see the south end of him. All the wires are intact, and the parked cars haven't been touched.
Well, it may seem premature, but it's time to take a look at the fireplaces. When Heather and Dan bought this property, they liked the fact that there were 4 fireplaces. The real estate agent told them that if they were able to get a good working fireplace, they could get up to $20,000 more for the property if they ever sold. Well, we want to get our own opinion. So we brought in our friends, Mark Schaub and his technical assistant, Dan McLaughlin, who helped us on the Watertown project, line all the chimneys. What are you finding?
Well, Norm, it looks like a fireplace, but actually, originally, these were used to duct hot air from a coal furnace in the basement to this floor and to the floor above.
So it was nothing more than a delivery system? You mean there was just a grate there with air coming out of it?
Well, if you look carefully, you'll see this has been changed. These tiles were added, and the hearth was added, and this unvented gas log set was added probably around the turn of the century.
So you're saying that this was an unvented gas unit letting fumes come into this room?
That's right. That's sealed off. All the fumes would come into the house when they burn that.
That's a serious carbon monoxide problem.
Yeah, that would concern me. But we even get more concerned about how close there is wood behind this firebox. Combustibles in the wall are a big way house fires start, and that really makes me nervous.
So the best thing to do with this one is to just shut it off.
I would disconnect that gas unit and leave it alone. That's right.
How about the one in the front parlor here?
Well, this one's a little different because this one actually looks as though it was set up to burn coal originally. This is a coal grate. Was designed to burn fireplace coal, which you really can't get anymore.
Got some logs in there.
They've got some logs in there, but again, the same concerns come up. How close is the wood under this hearth, behind this firebox, under this mantle? You know, is there a chance this house could catch on fire if you just lit this thing up?
How do we get a closer look?
Well, one way, Dan's going to give me a hand here, and we're going to take this mantle shelf off. This is a nice piece of Carrara marble.
Yeah,
You gotta be careful with that. And we're gonna take a look behind here and see what's going on.
Wow, hey, look, there's wood right up against the masonry.
That's right. Today, they would make you leave a 2-inch airspace around a properly constructed fireplace, but here it's right up against the brickwork.
And it looks like the mantle is starting to separate. There's a big crack right here. I would imagine flames could come right through there and get to this timber.
There's a big crack there, and there's also one in the back over here where the brickwork abuts the chimney itself.
That's not good. What do you think the condition of the flue is?
Well, back in Watertown, we showed you a neat little camera we can put up inside the chimney, and the technology's gotten even better now. We've got a much tinier camera and a nice little monitor here, color monitor, that we can take still shots and take photos off of that. And Dan here is going to put this up the chimney right now. We'll take a peek and see what we've got.
See what we got. So you're going right through the, what would be the damper area. I guess there is no damper. And you're working your way up into the flue. So what we're looking at here is the flue, and you actually can see all the way up to the sky.
Yeah, that's the top of the chimney. Dan, how's it looking there?
Well, of course, when they were built, these chimneys were lined with lime mortar, but that's long ago flaked off, and now we're down to
just the bare bricks and a lot of loose mortar, it looks like. So there's no way we could ever activate that without doing some work to the flue.
Yeah, you're going to need to line these chimneys before anybody's going to give you a clean bill of health on them.
All right, can we take a look at the ones upstairs?
Sure, they're even more interesting.
So, Mark, what do you think of the idea of having wood-burning fireplaces here in the city? I mean, there haven't been trees to cut down for firewood here in, what, 300 years?
Well, aside from the added value to the property, people still love wood fires, and it's hard to replace that romance.
So you think our homeowner's right on with this?
Oh, I believe he is, yes.
What do you think we're going to find here?
Well, this is above the first fireplace we looked at. It has a similar gas unit here, which Dan will get out of the way. But there's a little more to tell on this one. This is an unvented gas fireplace, but what came first is the heat duct we talked about downstairs. Originally, hot air came up from a furnace in the basement and let heat into this room that way. Then they sealed that up with cement and put this thimble hole in to run some kind of coal or wood-burning stove. They sealed that up with this little plate, and then they went to the gas unit here. So this is actually the third go-round, what you see in the room right now.
So they've tried a little bit of everything, and everything was either didn't work well or it was very dangerous.
Well, they just kept changing it, right.
Now, how about in the front room here, this grand room, which will be the entertaining area? What about this fireplace?
Wow, this is the prettiest mantle in the whole house, and it looks like, again, a wood-burning fireplace. It's got these unvented logs again with no connection to the chimney, but we actually look behind here in the wall, and there is charred wood back there from the heat created just from burning this.
So, if this was your place, what would you do?
Well, I think the wood-burning fireplaces on the front chimney make a lot of sense. Back there, you've got two that are in rooms. You probably wouldn't really use them that much. It's probably going to be the dining room, I think. Anyway, these two being wood-burning down below, the first one's already connected to the chimney, needs firebox work. This one needs an entire firebox, and we got to get all this wood out of the way.
And you got to get this one tied into the chimney.
Got to line the chimney, too.
Sounds expensive.
Well, you're probably talking, Dan and I figured this out, about $20,000.
But if they ever sell, they'll get that back.
Two working fireplaces, I think they easily would.
All right, well, it's not my money, so I'll have to take it up with the homeowners, but once again, we're in your debt.
Okay, let us know.
Thanks.
Today is the day we begin to address the structural problems in the second floor deck. We're standing in the renter's kitchen. Above us is the owner's kitchen. But unfortunately, the structure has been savaged by generations of plumbers with crude tools and a bad attitude, at least when it comes to wood. These joists are cut with holes for pipes. They look like Swiss cheese. So we've got to fix that problem, right, Tom?
You're right about that. We definitely need to fix that. And the other problem or the issue is where the old stairway opening was in the floor, we have to close that up because there's not going to be stairs anymore.
So what's the first step?
First step is to demo this and get ready to go.
All right. You just can't believe how many holes one plumber can make. All right, Tom, demolition's pretty much done. What's next?
Well, the next thing is, Steve, if you look at these joists, these old existing joists, they're all actually into a pocket of the brick, and that's what holds them up. What we have to do now is cut pockets in this side of the wall to match the other side so we can slide new joists into those.
There were no pockets cut there originally because there was a staircase here.
Exactly, exactly.
What are you going to use to cut the pockets?
I'm going to use this saw right here, and it's very dusty, and it's going to be noisy.
So you got a 10-inch saw with a diamond blade.
Correct.
I'll hold the back.
Yeah, that's a good trick I like to use. It keeps the dust down a lot.
All right, so here's the new material. It's just 2x12 spruce, standard framing timber, right?
That's right.
Now, how come it's not a square cut here?
Well, it's called a fireman's cut or a fire cut, but let me show you, Steve. I'll bring it right up there. Well, Steve, you know, years ago, the firemen noticed that if there was a fire, or when there was a fire, and the joist gets damaged, and it falls out of the ceiling, or falls from the ceiling, it takes a lot of the brickwork with it. So simply by making this little release cut on the top, because the joist is going to want to fall like this, it won't take the brick wall with it, above it.
So it's safer for the fireman, and it keeps the structure more or less intact.
Exactly.
All right, well, let's finish this up. I'm getting hungry. Well, while the dusty work continues here, take a look at a scene we shot the other day down at the Charlestown Navy Yard. It's part of the National Park System, and it's a place where a lot of history was written. Well, one of the things I love about this place is that you've got 200 years of naval history that reside right here. Of course, the centerpiece is the USS Constitution, but there's lots more to see. Come on, let's start our tour at the Commandant's house. Now, I don't want to be late, but I'm to meet up with National Park Ranger Bill Casey. Bill?
Morning, Steve.
Hey,
Welcome to Charlestown Navy Yard.
Thank you. Thanks for taking the time to show us around.
Glad to do it.
So this is the Commandant's house?
Yes, this house was built in 1805.
What style is it?
Federal era.
Why is it so fancy?
Well, you're seeing a very grand-looking structure, and one of the reasons was to impress upon those who worked here or were assigned here who was in charge.
Well, look at this place. I had no idea it was like this inside. Dining room. Now, what were such grand spaces used for historically?
Entertainment was one. Here, they would entertain a variety of guests that would arrive here in the Navy Yard by ship, and such individuals as President Tyler, Daniel Webster, and Marquis de Lafayette all have paid their respects to the Commandant in this particular home.
So it's a pretty important place in Boston history.
Very much so.
Now, how do you use it these days?
Well, after the Navy left in 1974, the house fell into disrepair, and then the Junior League of Boston came in 2 years ago and helped restore the home the way you see it today.
So how do you use it?
Well, you can still use this. A person can come here, rent the facilities, whether it be a wedding reception or a business reception.
Great. Well, let's go see where the work of the yard took place. Well, I recognize this facility. It's a dry dock.
Yes, Steve, this is dry dock number 1, created in 1833 here in the Navy Yard. And when this dry dock was created, it allowed the yard workers to perform a very important function of ship restoration and repair.
So how'd they do it before the dry dock?
Well, originally, when this ship would come in to a Navy Yard, they would have to careen it, pull it over on its side, which was very dangerous, not only to the yard workers, but to the ship itself.
So this way they could float a vessel in here, close the doors, pump the water out, work on the whole boat.
Exactly.
Now, it's still in use. What vessel is this?
Well, this